Hey, how is everybody this evening? We got five on here already. I'll give it a few moments as I always do every Saturday. So, if you want, what would be awesome is if you want to comment wherever you're listening, watching, Jeepers Creepers, watching, that would be awesome. And then I know who is here. And then if you're watching this after the fact, comment like after or something. I kept meaning to say that, and then I see who's watching it afterwards. So. Oh, how is everybody this evening? Get some comments rolling in here. Oh, there's five of you out there. Somebody's bound to comment. oh. Oh, we'll give it a few more moments here and see if we can get a few more than three to hop on. I must have scared two away. So tonight we're going to talk about lenses. So I don't know, it probably won't be a full hour, but so drum up your lens questions as you think of them. Anything you can think of. Hey, B from Waterloo, as always. So we got two more people on here. Come on. Somebody's bound to let me know. Hey, Sid, how are you? Trying to stay warm. Yes, that was wicked. Yesterday was beautiful. And all of a sudden it just turned to crud real quick. At least tomorrow's supposed to be nice. We'll see. So I have to go deliver calendars tomorrow. So hopefully it's nicer than today. We ended up, what was that? We ended up making it out to the Nutcracker today down at Paramount. So that was fun. It was chilly. We had to park and walk like 3 blocks. But oh well. So I don't know. I'll give it one more minute and then we'll kind of get rolling. So hopefully this light is like super bright. I got a new LED light Black Friday and it only goes low as 10% power, and I could use like half of this right now. But oh well. So any updates on the secret project, Tyler? I tried to work on it again this morning and I was not feeling very creative, so I came back home. I did go get coffee though. It's slowly chugging along, slowly. If anybody, I have a secret project. I won't tell anybody till it's closer to being done, but lots of work, lots of time at the coffee shop. I pretty much I think Uptown Coffee Company in Marion knows me by first name. So that's probably a bad thing. But they got a punch card now, which is awesome. So I drink 2 or 3 coffees each time I go. So I get like 3 knocked off the punch card. So yeah. Well, you know what? Let's just get rolling. I don't even know what we want to talk about tonight, evening and lenses, but I'll kind of just talk about my basic kit. This is like I don't leave the house without it. So I'm gonna pull some stuff out of my bag here. Put one there. One here, and try not to knock them off. And one more. There we are. So this is kind of my basic kit. You need real coffee from Java House. That's only because Tyler works at Java House. I got way too many notes tonight on sticky notes. I've been living off sticky notes lately. But if you got questions on lenses, pop them up. I love to answer questions more than sit here and listen to me blab all evening. But so I have a basic kit. Like if I'm going to just like on a whim go out and take some photos, or on a whim do something, or I don't know. But there's 3 lenses. I always have a telephoto, kind of your normal standard lens, and then a wide angle. Those cover about 99.9999% of what I need. First and foremost, my favorite lens of them all, the heaviest of them all, is the 70-200 2.8. This is a Tamron G2. I'll talk about I don't want to call them off-brand, third-party lenses. So anything outside your Nikon, Canon, Sony, your name brand of camera. But I will say, I never thought I needed a 70-200 2.8 until I had one. I used to do a lot of sports. That was the only reason I bought one. I had a Nikkor that I bought back in 2007. Bought it from Photo Pro before I worked there after my deployment. And I was doing lots of sports. So I don't like, and I think I mentioned this last week or previous weeks, I don't like to say that this lens and this lens, they do things better than one another, but I can take the same photo with this, the same photo with this. I just have to do things differently. So I don't like a lot of people say, well, this is only a sports lens. You only shoot sports with the 70-200 2.8 or action. Now, I do landscapes. I do portraits. I could use this for almost everything. I will say when I go out, anytime I'm taking photos outside of food shots, I have used it for a food shot before, but it's pretty rare. It's probably the only thing I don't use it for because I'm usually working so close. But I will say every time I go out and photograph something, this is always on the second body. I have the Z6 II with the 24-70 f4 kit lens. And then, so everything I'm going to show you here pretty much has a 2.8 aperture. Well, this one has it, but we'll talk about it in a minute. But I like 2.8 lenses just because it's going to give me an f-stop and I can wide open, let a lot of light in. I can, blur the background, give you that nice bokeh background kind of effect. But I like to have it and not need it, then need it, not have it kind of situation. So, I mean, I've done everything. I've shot a flower with this from 20 feet away. I've shot leaves with it up in the trees. I mean, it's a very versatile lens. So don't think that this lens or any lens is, if we try to have a lens like, if I have a nail and this is a hammer and this is a screwdriver, the hammer is probably going to work better than the screwdriver. Could I make both work? I probably can if I try hard enough. But don't get like in this box of where this lens only does this and I'm only shooting sports, so I shouldn't use the 24-70. So let's use sports as an analogy. When I would go out and shoot sports, I had 3 camera bodies with me. One was a backup, so if one of my two main cameras went down, I had a backup to one of those. But they always had 2 lenses on it. 70-200 2.8 for distance, low light distance, and the 24-70 2.8 for kind of that really up close stuff. So when I did basketball, I always shot roughly under the basket or the kind of back behind the basket and 45 degrees off to the right and left, the 24-70. So both of these are 70-200 2.8 G2s. So these are the most recent versions from Tamron. I'm very happy with them. When you look at lenses, I can get this in Nikon. I can get it in Tamron. I can get it in Sigma. So when I look at any lens that I'm going to buy, I'll always look at name brand. I always look at Sigma. And I'll always look at Tamron. Now that I'm going into the mirrorless world, it's a little bit harder because I'm stuck to Nikkor lenses only. So I'm patiently waiting because I almost wanted to buy the 70-200 2.8 today for the mirrorless, but I didn't. I need it, but that's probably why I don't use my Z6 II a lot, because I use, like I said, mostly use 70-200. But I'm patiently waiting. I have been told, though, there's an awesome adapter for the Nikon Z series cameras where you can take the Sony E-mount lenses and flawlessly work over. I don't know if I'll do that. I'm thinking about it. But when I look at lenses, if I'm going to, let's say I got one for my D850, for some reason I'm going to buy a new lens. I look at Nikon, Sigma, and Tamron. And if there's some other ones out there, but those are my 3 biggies. So what I do is I look at sharpness. I'll always guarantee that Nikon is probably going to be the sharpest. Doesn't mean it's going to be the better for what I'm doing. And then I look at autofocus speed. Those are my 2 main things. Is I want it to focus fast and I want it to be sharp. And then obviously most of these lenses are going to have a build quality that I'm not too terribly worried about. They're all going to be weather sealed to some point. That I'm not worried about because all those lenses in that lineup usually have weather sealing. But when I was looking at the newest 70-200 2.8 at the time from Nikon, I had my first one was back in 07, 08. And it was having some focus issues. So I sent it in. They fixed it. It was getting kind of old. And Nikon came out with their new 70-200 2.8 VR, which is vibration reduction version 2. And it was beautiful. It was really light, much lighter than the old one. It was really freaking sharp. But I also then looked at the Sigma version, which I threw immediately out the window because it was a very old version. So it left me with Tamron and Nikon. And what I did was I compared the 2. So the first thing I did is price. Obviously, Nikon's eye is going to be higher than Tamron. I want to feel like this was like $1,200, $1,299.99 roughly. Nikon's was $2,699.99. So then I look at sharpness. Was Nikkor sharper? Yes. Was it the additional difference from, $12.99, $11.99, whatever it was, like $600-700 difference. Not for me. I kind of tested it at the store. I took pictures of both. I showed them to people, and I was like, oh, which ones do you like better? I got 50-50, but nobody could pick out the Nikkor. I even had problems remembering which one was the Nikon, which one was Tamron. So start when you look at lenses. Don't buy the cheapest of cheap, but don't go like super expensive unless you really need it because you have to have some feature or function that it does. The only thing I do not like about my Tamron is these flipping buttons. They are just a hair higher than the body of the lens. And I would guarantee you on any shoot, 9 out of 10 shoots, I go, oh my God, it stopped focusing because they're so easy. I'll swing it down and it'll catch a shirt or a belt or pants and it will shut my autofocus off to manual. I'll notice it's super shaky. And guess what? My VC or my vibration control is off. So I have to get used to those. I wish those were recessed down a little bit. The other thing that I like is Tamron has 3 different modes. There's like a 1, 2, and 3 mode for image stabilization, or VC as they call it. So 1, if I remember, is always keeping it stabilized as I'm moving up and down. The second one, I believe, I can't remember that one. I know one of the third one is, I think it does not engage until it's like spot on, like until you click the shutter. I always use the first one. I always want it to be on. Some people say that slows down your autofocus. I've never run into it. To each their own. But 70-200 is my basic. That's my most lens. Let's talk 24-70. When I first started in the world of full frame, now these are all full frame lenses. So if you have a, say, I don't know, a Canon Rebel or something, a crop sensor, Nikon crop sensor, something other brand, there are equivalents to these. If you put a 24 millimeter on a full frame, that's 24 millimeters. If you put on 24 millimeters onto a Nikon, it's roughly 35, just round up to the next focal length. It's like 1.6, I think. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But so just know that there's certain lenses. Let's talk about that. There's different types of lenses like, let's see. If you talk Nikon, there's like a G2. That's like the newest version, or Nikon is like number 2, or like the 2 little eyes, Roman numerals. They're all different versions. They'll say something. But when you get in, there's DX lenses from Nikon, which is crop sensor only. And then you have the full frame lenses, which are FX. Those will work on crop lens or crop sensors or full frame sensors. Canon had, let me think, L lenses, which are going to be full frame. They'll work across. There's EF. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. EF. EF is Canon's full frame. EFS is their crop sensor. So you can put the crop sensors on full frame, but there's lots of auto cropping, and we won't get into that. But on Canon, you can put an EF lens on any camera body. In the Canon lineup, it's going to work. Well, now that we throw in the world of mirrorless, Nikon's the same way. You have to have adapters for that because those are all new mounts. Nikon, you can put FX on any camera, even including the Z series, as long as you have the adapter. Speaking of that, let's tell what it is. So here it is. This is the adapter. This is the first version for Nikon. So the back is your standard Nikon mount, the old F mount, and the front is the Z mount. Come on. And you'll notice a lot bigger now on the Z mount. So you can do that. Canon's got their adapter. Everybody's got an adapter. You can find adapters all over the place. That's how everybody started out in mirrorless. But if you're going to take these lenses and put them in mirrorless, you have to have some type of adapter. The other thing you have to do is you have to update the firmware in your lenses, usually if they're older, to work on the new mirrorless cameras as well. Tamron makes it super cool. They've got a little dock that's like $30. I lock it into the bottom here, and I go into there and it updates my firmware and does everything. Super cool. I actually think they now just released their first lens, if I remember right, where it has not a USB port, but maybe USB. There's some type of port in the lens, and you just plug it into the camera or into the computer. It's super cool. I haven't looked into it because it's nothing I can do. If you got any questions on lenses, throw them up. I'm just kind of rolling. But 24-70. This used to be my bread and butter lens. This was like, I don't even remember the last time I put this on. on the D850. I use the 24-70 f4 on the Z series all the time. But this is like my everyday lens. Like if I'm like my basic 24-70, I use some portraits with it. I do landscapes with it. It's kind of an overall general lens. I don't like to say that it does anything better, but like I said, for basketball, I used it under the basket or 45-degree angles, kind of where I shoot from the basket. The other thing that I did a lot too was if I shot football, I'd have two bodies. Obviously, this was for the really up close stuff. And then obviously my telephotos for my far off stuff. But this is my bread and butter. I don't use it as much anymore. I just, for some reason, have shifted my vision to the telephoto end. I might go back to this someday. Who knows? But I've got it. The other one that I have, this one I use very, very, very rarely. I had a Sigma 20 millimeter 1.4, which is super awesome for night photography. But I never used it. I like zooms. So I bought a Tamron more on the budget end, the full frame 17-35. The only thing I do not like about this lens is the aperture is variable. So when I'm at 17 millimeters, it goes 2.8. As I zoom out, go to 35, the aperture changes down to f4. So if I'm shooting manual mode, it screws my exposure up and I have to correct for it. Let's see. Oh, is there a question? You should switch to Polaroid. I'm just got done, Tyler. Well, I'm not done yet teaching a film class, and I forgot how difficult it is to roll film in the dark. It took me like 20 minutes. I burned like half the class rolling the students' film. I ended up having to go over to steel reels if anybody ever did that. I couldn't get the plastic to work, and that should be easier, but we won't go there. We're not talking about film. But this is mostly a wide-angle lens, 17-35. If I'm trying to show this big, vast, wide landscape, I'll go to 17. That's pretty wide on full frame. But I don't use it a lot, but it's there. I'm one of those. I like to have a wide angle, a mid-range, and a telephoto. Those are my three basics when I leave the house. Now, I do have two additional lenses that I use very rarely. I have to be in the mood. This is a super old macro lens. It's a 100 millimeter f2.8. Does not work on the Z. Well, it does work on my Z series, but it doesn't autofocus because it's so old. There's no there's no autofocusing. There's no focusing motor in the lens. So it's all manual focus. But this one has, on the old school Nikon, there's a little drive mount here. All my bodies have it in the camera, so it'll focus. But super sharp, awesome lens. But I bought it used at Photo Pro one day. That was horrible when I worked there because I'd see all this cool stuff come in and buy it. But that didn't sound good. Sounds like there's something in my lens. It's gone now, whatever it was. But 100 millimeter macro. I like 100 millimeters for a macro because I'm much farther back from my subject. So in the world of macro lenses, Nikon makes a 50 for the Z series now. I know Canon made, I think, a 60 millimeter macro and a 100 millimeter macro. Tamron makes a 90 millimeter macro. They used to make 180 millimeter. That would be supreme to have, but they don't make them anymore. They're hard to get. But they're super old too. But on the macro world, I like a longer focal length because if I'm shooting butterflies, I can be farther away from a butterfly, and I'm not going to make it flutter away. Let's say if this is as close as before I go out of lens. Let's say this is where butterflies here and macros here. I can, get it without him fluttering away. Problem being, if I have a 60, I might have to be up closer. He's probably going to fly away, or whatever. But I just like the 100. It's always been a common kind of, for me, macro lens. I can switch the settings on my macro lens to be a straight 100 millimeter, like 1:1, so that's life size, and I can go like 1:2 and all that good stuff. But I don't use this as much. It's probably when I finally someday, probably in like 10 millenniums, when I switch over to all Z series lenses, this will probably be the last lens I buy, because they're like $1,000 on a new one, so they're kind of, for something I don't use very often, it'll stay in the bag. The other one that everybody probably should have, if you don't have one, I don't use it very often, is the nifty 50 millimeter 1.8. I used to say these were cheap. Nikon's was $219. Canon's was like $199, $189 when they had them on sale. Now the freaking Z series ones are like $550. So I'm definitely not buying it because the one thing I use this for is it's super light. It's really light. It's a 1.8 aperture. If I want to run and gun kind of lens where I'm not really worried, I don't use prime lenses. So let's talk about that. So when I talk lenses, there's prime lenses, which don't zoom. They're fixed, 50, 60 millimeter, whatever the focal length is. If I need to get closer to my subject, I have to be the human zoom and step up, or I got to step back. What I like about a zoom is I can shoot really tight and then not have to step back. I can just go wider. That's what I like that's why I use a zoom, because if I'm doing sports per se and I got really good, or they're coming at me, I could reverse zoom it, like I go wider and keep shooting. On this, I can't. I have to back up. I'm going to trip over my freaking ankles and feet and fall into the wall, kind of thing. So I don't want to move. So if I've got somebody with a telephoto on, or a football player runs, I can get real close, zoom out, shoot. As they get closer, kind of go wider. And as they pass me, if I'm trying to get maybe the other team, I don't know why I'd be shooting the other team, but whatever. Let's say I am. And they're coming at them, I can then go and get that farther distance, and I'm not trying to run 20 feet ahead. There's enough running in football the way it was up and down the sidelines all night long. So any questions so far on lenses? No, nothing. We've been at 31 minutes already. Wow. Let me think. What else in the world of lenses? Those are all the lenses that I use. I'm trying to think if I got anything hanging out in the office. No. Yeah, like I don't have lots of lenses. Like some people have like 50 bajillion lenses, and I don't know why. Let's just talk about some other uncommon lenses. Tilt shifts. Tilt shift lenses. Tilt shifts are really cool, but super expensive, and they don't autofocus. If you really are into like architectural photography, they shift and then move up and down. You can move and tilt. That's why they're called tilt shifts. They're super cool, but super expensive. Always wanted one, never bought one because I would never use it. Probably be in this case too with everything else. Let's see. What are there some? Canon has the MP65. That was the only lens from Canon that I ever envied, that I wish Nikon had. It was a 1 to 5 times close-up lens. It was super cool, but you had to use it on a tripod. I remember when we carried it once in a while at Photo Pro, kind of on and off as people wanted them. They were super, I don't say super expensive for what it was, but it was like a super macro lens. Like you could shoot normal, 1-to-1, life size, but I remember you could get so close. I remember on a piece of paper, we printed out just the letter A, normal font, like Times New Roman, like 12. We could fill a whole 4x6 with just the A. You could get that close. We could see the fibers in the paper. We could see like ink in the paper. It was super cool, but the problem with that lens is, one, it was kind of pricey, and two, you have to be on a tripod, and then you also had to focus stack because you were so close. Your depth of field was so thin and shallow. Everything was out of focus, so you had to focus stack and stack them later. But any questions on lenses so far? No. Somebody's about to have one. What else? I'm trying to think of some other fun lenses. Lens babies. I have one lens baby because I got it practically free. Lens babies are like, you got to Google them and look at them. They have so many different ones, but they're very artistic lenses. The one I have is like a first generation, and it pretty much looks like a tube. It bends, and I can really bend it. The lens, it's kind of cool. And they used to have aperture rings that you would put in to get different bokeh effects, but it wasn't like on a lens where the aperture would open and close automatically. You had to unscrew it and put the new one in. But they sell whole kits, and I haven't even looked at them in ages. They may even now make lenses actually mount to your camera, I think. But no lens questions so far. Okay. I just realized I'm sporting my early bird hat and drinking out of my early bird coffee. They should probably pay me for promotions. No questions whatsoever. No, come on. There's 7 of us now. Somebody's bound to have a question on lenses. I'm trying to think what else in the world of. Let's talk about like let's talk about non-fast aperture lenses. Those are going to be a lot more affordable than. And let's talk about this too. Kit lenses versus non-kit lenses. So any camera lens that comes with your body, not inherently, it's probably a kit lens. They're usually not fast glasses. We call them like 2.8s. Now, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever seen or I've never seen a kit put together where they put a 2.8. I know they had body rebates and lens rebates, and you can make your own kit for a certain price, but they never like kitted them together. One that I love, if you're looking for a good all around, yeah, let's talk about that too. Now I've got all these ideas in my head. So you've got kit lenses. That's like your basic lens. It comes with like 18 to 55 for crop lenses. 24 to 70 is a lot of your new Nikon Z series full frame lens, the f4 version. The one that I love, Canon has always had the 24 to 105 f4. It's not an all-in-one lens. An all-in-one is going to have like a super telephoto, almost like 400 millimeters to like 18 millimeters, like on a Tamron. I don't like all-in-ones because you have to give and take. Now I'm not going to bash all-in-ones. If you're just a photographer, goes out for fun, just wants to take pictures, don't want like a freaking case of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lenses to lug around, 6 lenses, including the one there. It covers everything. But you have to give and take. You're going to get that all-in-one. Everything's covered from wide to super telephoto. You're probably going to give up a little bit of sharpness on the telephoto end, which isn't horrible. But Tamron, I think, what was it? There was the 18 to 300 from Tamron, and then the Tamron also had 18 to 400. In the full frame world, there's a 28 to 300. I remember Tamron's was pretty good. Nikon's wasn't so hot. It was pretty crappy on the telephoto end. It wasn't very sharp, and it wasn't very sharp on the wide angle lens, if I remember right, but that's been ages. And that's the other thing to know about lenses. Your lenses aren't going to be sharp all the time. So they're sharpest at certain apertures, and they're sharpest at certain apertures and like focal lengths. Like it might wide open at 2.8. I just helped a client last Monday with this. She has a 50 millimeter 1.8 Nikkor, and her pictures were sharp, but not as sharp as they could be. I found a test chart that showed wide open at 1.8 at 50 millimeters was pretty soft on the edges. Middle was tack sharp, and when we looked at her photos in Lightroom, it wholeheartedly 120% showed that. Anything on the edges was fairly soft. So then she worked on a project I gave her to shoot from the lowest aperture to the highest aperture so she could start to kind of visualize depth of field. And we noticed that as we went through, we took the data we found online, put it to the actual real world test data that we did by her photographing, and we could see that difference. I think it was like the best that lens was at f8, which is the sweet spot for most lenses. But know that there's some stuff out there. I can always help you out. There used to be a really good website, but they've moved, and I got to figure out their name again. But they had a lot of tests charts where you could go in and see sharpness and versus with focal lengths and apertures and all that stuff. So there's full frame kit lenses too. As I jump back, sorry, I'm all over the place tonight. But when you get into your kit lenses and full frame, Nikon makes the 24 to 120 f4. They also made a 24 to 123 5 to 5.6 at one time. I had that one. I liked that focal length because I could get some telephoto or some wide and some telephoto out of it, which was super nice. And it's a great all-around walk-around lens, and it was still pretty sharp. I've almost thought about getting it for my Z series and just trading in the 24 to 70 f4. Because most of the time when I'm at 70 millimeters, I just want a little bit more, and that 120 range would be superb. But there's kit lenses for everything. I mean, Tamron doesn't, let's talk about that with the third-party lenses, is you're not going to see like Tamron and Sigma, really. Well, Sigma did for a short time. You're not going to usually see Tamron make a 50 millimeter 1.8. They made 35s and 35 millimeters and 45 millimeters, but they don't make 50 because every time I asked, they always said, well, the third-party manufacturer's like, we can't get it as cheap as Nikon and Canon, so why waste R&D time and money, which totally makes sense. But I don't know. I mean, like, oh boy, like right now for third-party lenses, Sigma is getting into the E-mount. If you're, I know B shoots Sony. You've got a whole bunch of different, options for lenses. You got Sigma's making them, Tamron makes them now, and then obviously Sony makes a ton. But Nikon, I don't have that many options for third party. Same with Canon. I mean, that's the thing. So if you're in one of those two realms, then you're kind of stuck. Love your hat. Yeah, thanks, Karen. It's my early bird. I bought it when we went to Omaha over Thanksgiving. I love, if you're ever in Omaha or Des Moines, you got to just, I might as well throw it out there. You got to go to early bird. Oh, come on, camera, focus. I guess it's not. It wants to focus on me. But there we are. Super great place for breakfast or lunch. If you want to eat a whole lot and not have to eat the rest of the day, it's your place to go. But I had to get a stocking hat, and I wanted to get their cuppus at Omaha, but I didn't. Any questions? I'm kind of out of things I really want to talk to you about in the world of lenses. Karen, I have a question for you. How's the 70 to 200 2.8? Did you get it yet? I'm curious. Hopefully they'll respond. Maybe not. There's only 2 people here now, so maybe probably scared everybody away. No? Maybe Karen jumped off. Oh, love it. See, I think there's a delay from when everybody hits enter and I get to see it. So that is good. I mean, it's not a cheap lens for everybody, but man, if you can get over the weight, it's golden. You're going to use it for more than I think you ever planned. Any other specific lens questions? Like, I don't know. I think I told you what I use most of my lenses for, but I just like to answer questions, really. I don't like to sit here and blab all evening. So. Oh, and I got 4 on here, man. People are coming and going. No questions at all. I'm trying to think what else in the world of lenses. Oh, Sigma. Let's talk Sigma lenses. Anything at Sigma Art lenses, ART. Very nice. They make 24 to 70, 70 to 200. What else was it? 20 millimeter. They make a 20 millimeter or 24 millimeter. Whole plethora of lenses that go up. Lots of prime lenses are super sharp. That's the other thing. Prime lenses, which means non-zoom lenses, are probably going to be inherently more sharp than a zoom, but that's, in my book, that's kind of out of the world now. It doesn't make sense because your zooms, 15, 20 years ago, yeah, that was right. Zooms were convenience, not for sharpness. They were for a convenience thing. Karen says, I don't know how I lived without it now. Now it's not really that heavy. The next lens down, yes. 24 to 70 2.8 G2. Because I think you got the Tamron 70 to 200 2.8 G2. This one, super lens, super nice, super sharp. Both of those are nice companions. If you only had 2 lenses in the entire world, 24 to 70, 70 to 200 would probably cover almost everything. Unless you're really into eagles. I know Karen does eagles a lot. It's about that season again. But that's where, let's talk about that, like super telephotos. Super telephoto lens, most of your companies are going to make a super telephoto. Like Nikon makes a really nice 200 to 500 millimeter. It's a 5.6, I believe, aperture. They also make your 800 millimeters, which are super expensive. 500 millimeter f4, 400 2.8s, and 300 2.8s. I remember the Nikkor 300 2.8 being, when I say 300 2.8, it's 300 millimeters, so it's a fixed or a prime lens. 2.8 for the aperture, it was about $6K. So they're not super cheap. You might be able to start getting them cheaper now that people are ditching the SLRs because all these lenses are getting discontinued in the SLR world to go E-mount for Sony or Z-mount for Nikon, or why can't I think of the Canon one? RF mounts for Canon. So you might be able to pick them up, but they're still going to be pretty pricey. Like 400, but I'll tell you, like 400, I always wanted a 400 millimeter 2.8 or a 500 millimeter. And one time we got super lucky at Photo Pro. They gave us lenses. I don't know if anybody's on here that went, but we used to go out to the Colonels every year and shoot baseball. And Nikon gave us 300s, 400 2.8s, 500 f4, and a 600 f4. To have all 4 of those lenses in one room at any given time, it's not in like an Nikon trade show booth, was crazy. And I shot all of them. I loved all of them. But after 400 was almost unmanageable. I helped a customer. He was going to buy either the 400, the 500, or the 600. And he was too afraid to touch them. So I had to carry them in and out. And I remember the 600 is about this big around. The lens hood on that, if you lost it, was like $500. These were made out of carbon fiber. That might be a little higher than I'm thinking, but it was over 200. So I'm like, So I mean, these are $12,000 lenses. I didn't want one ever after that. You're going to get like a 150 to 600. Sigma makes a 150 to 600 Sport. That thing's super nice. If you're looking for something like that. What else in lenses? Trying to think. Any other questions? Any other photo related questions? So if not, we can start wrapping it up. But I'll give a few seconds for some questions here. No, nothing. Well, we'll start wrapping it up, I guess. Well, if anybody's interested, I have 4 calendars left for 2023 scenic calendars. I think I went 4, maybe 5, probably 4. If you're interested, let me know. Let's talk about the upcoming lives. So, got my sticky note. So next Saturday, I'm going to just kind of, as always, ramble on about kind of how I find inspiration and creativity. I had a bout of inspiration today. Emma and Sarah and I went to the Nutcracker down at the Paramount, and I wish I could find somebody who does ballet. Show us the calendar? Oh, okay, I can do that. They're all wrapped up, Karen. You're lucky I like you. Let's see. I don't think I have an unwrapped one. Do I? Nope. Well, I'll show you the front. So there's the front. Thank you to my wonderful friends at McKenna. And here's all the images for the back this year. So a lot of fun. So $20 if you want one. I got 4 left. But it's always a fun project. I love calendars. They're a lot of work. My other vendor that I used last year kind of burned me this year. I won't get into that, but yeah, so I kind of had, Karen. But yeah, so next, thank you. I thought these turned out wonderful. I didn't like McKenna's stuff a few years ago, but they must have upped their ante on a press or something. I don't know, but they turned out freaking beautiful this year. So I'm not going anywhere else. I'm going to just like throw a shout out to McKenna. They did 50 calendars. I ordered them Tuesday night, whatever it was. Ordered them Tuesday night. They shipped Wednesday. No, whatever. It don't really much matter. They had them done. I ordered them one night. They shipped them the next day. I had them the following day. They are packed, no damage, nothing. They're like perfectly packed. I mean, I can't say enough about McKenna. And guess what? Their shipping on 50 calendars was $2. All their shipping is up to $2 until you get really, really big, I believe. But I'd have to look it up. Yes, McKenna is awesome. They are. It's so crazy to have somebody that prints that well so close to us. And the other thing is, if you tried to use McKenna before and you have to use the Rose software, it's not real fun. They have an easier software now online. It's web-based, Karen. I used the Rose software to do the calendar, but if I was going to order some regular stuff, I will use the other one now. But super nice. But shout out to McKenna. So next week, I'm going to talk about kind of like how I find creativity, maybe finding inspiration when you're not wanting to pick up the camera and where do you find it at and things like that. I'll show you. If I don't forget, I'll bring 3 books down here with me. They're not in my office that are super awesome. Super short reads by Austin Keenon or Keown. He's a writer about creativity. Yes, it says check with your local dance teacher. They have some students that would like pictures taken. There might be some who wanted seniors. Yes. Thank you. I never thought about that. Yeah, I was super cool. I mean, I could have photographed the Nutcracker day. It was super cool, but it got maybe I'll talk about that next week, like when I get bouts of inspiration. And then the 17th, I've had lots of requests for night photography. So, we're going to talk about night photography and kind of basic camera settings, tips, tricks, the tools of the trade kind of thing. And then we're going to have a 3-week hiatus because it's the 24th and we should all be enjoying Christmas Eve with our families and not spending it here with me for an hour. As much as everyone likes me, right? I don't want you to spend your Christmas Eve with me. And then I'm not going to do it the 31st just because it's New Year's Eve. I'm not going anywhere. I might get on. I don't know. It won't be all elaborate with the lights or anything, but I might just pop onto Facebook Live with the phone or something. But I won't plan on being here the 31st unless people are super interested. And then the 7th of January. That's so weird to say that that's like the 7th of January. I'm not going to do a show. I will be in Omaha. So I will be in Omaha again with my mom and my wife and my daughter. We're going to do like a late Christmas have fun thing. Hang out in the old market, go eat. And I'm going to go back to that bar. If you're friends with me on Facebook, there's a super cool bar. I'm not a huge drinker, but it's a speakeasy. It's super cool. It's called the Wicked Rabbit. We were there last weekend. Yeah, over. We found it. Well, I knew found it was another story. It was in a liquor store and it's disguised and there's no name on the door and you have to know where to find it. And we went in and the guy's like, "Can I help you?" And we're like, duh, we're here for the Wicked Rabbit. Don't you know what we're here for? And he's like, "Well, what can I help you with?" And we're like, the Wicked Rabbit. And he's like, "IDs, please." And then he gave us we showed him our IDs and he's like, "Well, hold right here." And it's literally a store. You can buy some booze and whatever else there. And it was crazy. Then he's like, "Hold on." And then if you noticed on the bottle, there was a little rabbit and he pulled it and the door swung out like a speakeasy and it was a whole bar. It was super cool. It wasn't cheap, but if you're ever in Omaha, got to look up the Wicked Rabbit. So I'll probably be there on Saturday night. I think Sarah and I might go out and do something. And then on the 14th, what I'd like to do on the 14th of January, if everyone is interested, is I just want to do a straight up Q&A. I'm not going to sit here and blab and yak. I just want you guys to bring your questions. You can go out to the nextshoppodcast.com and use the little microphone thing if you want to leave me like a question if you can't make it, and I'll answer those. Or email me at justin@tedfordphoto.com, and we'll go from there, and I'll compile the questions, and I'll just go down my list. And that, I forgot. January 14th, so that's the second Saturday of January, or each month. That's the first official kickoff for 2023 of Coffee and Clicks. I know Karen was at my old one where we just called it Photo Get Together. But I'm going to try to have like something we talk about. I think the first one, it's at Stillwater Coffee, which is in Hiawatha in the north end of Cedar Rapids. Well, north end of Cedar Rapids when I said it's in Hiawatha. The north end of Hiawatha, almost by like Midwest Shooting Supply, like north of Dave Wright Nissan. But they are graciously going to let us come. So come over, have some coffee. They usually have breakfast things like that. But we'll just hang out as photographers, and maybe you can meet some new ones. I know Karen met up with a couple the last time, and they went out shooting some, did some eagle stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, come on over. It's totally free. Nothing. I ain't going to charge you to be there. You can ask me all the questions you want. You can ask other photographers all the questions you want. It's just a fun time. We're just going to hang out, and hopefully we'll do that. Well, plan is we'll do it every second Saturday of the month. So, but other than that, unless anybody's got any questions, I'm going to sign off. And then as always, thank you guys for the support, listening to the podcast and everything else that I do. So can't do it without you guys because, I had about 6 people on average tonight, so that was super nice. So if you guys have ideas for the show, that's weird. I don't know if we call it a show or not, but let me know. I'm just pulling stuff out of my butt, to be honest, about, let's talk about lenses or let's talk about night photography. I know night photography is always super popular, but can't do it without you. And if you guys don't show up, I ain't going to show up either. So I ain't going to talk to nobody, but I always enjoy it. I wish I could actually hear people talk. That would be great. I'm so glad you could jump on too tonight, Karen. These are always available at Justin Tedford Photography on YouTube if you want to watch them later. They should be under Facebook as well on Justin Tedford Photography under the live section. I think there's a tab for lives. It'll have all the old stuff and the new. Trying to think what else. But like I said, if you got stuff you want to know, let me know. I do it for you, not for me, to be honest. I could have a million other things, and I'd rather be doing this, but like I said, if I don't have anything to talk about, then it's no fun. But no, other than that, I'll give you one last chance for lens questions or anything. I don't care. You can even ask me what I had for dinner. But, I just realized I don't have my glasses on. No wonder things don't look great. Okay, Amanda says I caught the end, but rewatch. Yes, you can always rewatch. And if you are rewatching at the end, well, if you're watching now, just comment live, so then I know who's kind of here. If you didn't ask anything, and then 2, if you're watching this after, comment like I don't care after or later something, or I don't know, come up with a word that means you watched it after. Let's do it that way. So awesome. So if you guys have any questions, you know where to find me. Shoot me a message on Facebook. But if not, I am going to sign off. Have a good evening. As always, I will see everybody next Saturday, and then the following Saturday, and then we'll have a show those following 3 Saturdays. So awesome. Oh, Sandy just tuned in. Well, Sandy, it'll be on live once I hit end here. So have a good evening, everybody. But we will, like I said, sign